At Mother's Day brunch, I brought flowers, her favorite perfume, and a letter I spent hours writing. But then I saw everything I gave her stuffed in a trash bag by the garage. So I left early and did this. By the next morning, she was calling nonstop. This year, I thought maybe, just maybe, it would be different. Not perfect. Not even great. But softer. I don't know why. Maybe because I'd been working so much I hadn't had time to overthink it. Or maybe because I'd recently helped with her taxes, and she actually said thank you, and it didn't sound forced. Or because when I texted her last week to confirm brunch, she replied with a smiley face. Not an emoji, a colon and a parenthesis. Old school. Familiar. Like how she used to text me in middle school before everything changed. So yeah, I let myself hope. I bought her favorite perfume. The one she used to wear when I was a kid and still called me sweetheart in front of people. I picked up fresh flowers from a local place, not the grocery store. And I spent hours, literal hours, on a letter I wrote by hand. Not just a Hallmark, thanks for everything type of deal. I told her I knew things hadn't always been easy. That I appreciated what she gave up for me. That I still loved her, even if I didn't always feel like she wanted me around anymore. It wasn't desperate, just honest. I told myself this brunch might be a reset. A way back in. She had me when she was barely out of high school. It was just us for a long time, messy, but close. Then when I was 10, she met Jake. Her now husband. He was nice at first. Quiet. Practical. I thought maybe I was gaining someone. I didn't realize I was about to start disappearing. The baby came, my half-brother Zach, and suddenly I wasn't her son, so much as the reminder of her past. And Jake. Jake liked a clean slate. A nuclear family. You could feel it in the way he always said our boy, but never once referred to me as his stepson unless someone asked directly. But I still hoped. Because sometimes you want so badly to be wanted, it overrides all the reasons you should know better. So when I pulled up to the house that morning with gifts in my hands, I felt good. Nervous, yeah. But also proud. Like I was showing up as a grown adult. Someone worth having at the table. The house looked nice. She always goes all out for events. Mimosas, cloth napkins, actual place cards. Pinterest energy. When I stepped inside, she looked up from the table. "Oh, you made it," she said. And I swear, for half a second, I thought she meant it. That maybe this was it. Maybe I'd finally done something right. I handed her the flowers, the perfume. She glanced at the bottle like it was a receipt she didn't remember authorizing. "Oh, you remembered this one," she said. Not warm. Just observed. I didn't let it shake me. "Yeah," I smiled. They only had one left. She nodded, already turning back to the table. My half-brother Zach was going on about dorm life and how his econ professor totally looks like a guy who has never paid rent. Everyone laughed. I sat down. There was a folded napkin at my place setting, but no card. No one had saved me a mimosa. That was fine. I poured myself juice like a responsible adult. Jake asked me how work was, then turned before I finished answering. My mom was adjusting the centerpiece. Zach passed me the salt without looking. This wasn't new. But today, for some reason, it felt heavier. Maybe because I'd actually tried this time. Maybe because the letter was still in my jacket pocket, and I kept debating when to give it to her. I'd sealed it in a red envelope. Even used the good pen. "Anyone want more coffee?" I offered. My mom didn't hear me. Or she pretended not to. Halfway through brunch, my brother looked at me and smirked. "So do you, celebrate Mother's Day from a distance now? Or is this your charity visit?" Jake laughed. My mom didn't say anything. She just sipped her drink. I smiled like it didn't bother me and said, "Well, I didn't bring a coupon, but I did bring a gift." My brother grinned. "Cool. Did you Venmo it to her like last year?" "Nope," I said. "This year it's actually in writing." I stood up, pulled the letter from my pocket, and set it next to her plate. The red envelope stood out like blood on the white tablecloth. She blinked at it like I'd just handed her a court summons. Then my brother snorted. "You write her a love letter or something." "Jesus." "No," I said, still smiling. "Just a thank you." The table went quiet for a second. Then someone asked for the butter. After brunch, I helped clear the plates. I was halfway to the kitchen with a stack when I noticed the trash bags had already been taken out to the garage. We'd barely finished eating. Maybe she was just being efficient. She liked a tidy space. I walked outside to toss the napkins. The garage door was half open, the sun hitting just enough to light up the bins stacked near the back wall. And right there, leaning against a black trash bag. I saw it. The perfume, still boxed. The flowers, bent sideways like they'd been shoved in without a second thought. And the envelope, my envelope, still sealed, red against black plastic. My whole offering dumped. I just stood there, staring. It didn't feel like anger at first. It felt like heat, rising up my neck, settling behind my eyes. Not enough to cry. Just enough to blur the edges of the world. I looked around. No one was watching. No camera crew popping out to say it was a mistake or a joke, or that she meant to give it back. Just silence. And trash. I crouched down, reached in, and took it all back. The perfume, the flowers, the letter. I held them for a second, standing in that half-lit garage, not even sure what I was doing. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was pride. Maybe I couldn't bear the thought of my love rotting under coffee grounds and eggshells. I walked back to my car with the bag in my hand, like it was evidence from a crime scene. Sat there for a minute. Engine off. Letter on the passenger seat. What a stupid thing to write, I thought. Thank you for the years you gave me. I know it wasn't easy, but you did your best. I'm proud of the woman you became. I stared at the envelope. Then I drove home. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't text. Didn't mention what I saw. I didn't even slam the door. Just left. Quietly. That night, I placed the letter on my kitchen counter, right next to the perfume and the flowers that were already starting to wilt. I stood there looking at them, like maybe they'd explain something to me. Why I kept trying. Why I still cared. Why I didn't see it coming. I didn't sleep much. But I made one decision before the sun came up. And by the next morning, she was calling nonstop. I used to think things changed slowly. Like erosion. Like you wouldn't notice it until one day the shore was just gone. But looking back, I think it happened faster than I let myself admit. She met Jake when I was 10. He came to dinner a couple times, then suddenly he was there every night. One morning I woke up, and his car was in the driveway, and his shoes were in the hallway, and my mom was wearing more makeup than usual. She smiled at him in a way she hadn't smiled at me in years. And I remember thinking, oh, the baby came not long after. I was still 10. I did the math later, but I don't think she expected me to at the time. She and Jake had a whole new family in what felt like a single breath. New routines. New rules. A nursery where the home office used to be. A second fridge in the garage full of formula and organic baby food. A chore chart that somehow didn't have my name on it anymore. They were busy, of course. Newborns are hard. So I told myself it made sense when they forgot to ask how my spelling test went, or didn't show up to my school concert, or left me waiting outside karate practice in the rain. They were just tired. It was a phase. I waited years for that phase to end. It didn't. The baby grew. They adored him. He walked and they clapped. He said dada, and they cried. I brought home an award from school, and my mom said, "That's great. Can you keep an eye on your brother while I take a nap?" It wasn't that she stopped loving me overnight. It was more like she started loving someone else louder. And over time, that quiet got unbearable. By the time I left for college, the house didn't feel like mine anymore. Every wall had pictures of them, smiling at parks, matching holiday pajamas, my brother on Santa's lap. I wasn't in any of them. Not even a high school graduation photo. Just erased. I remember walking past a framed canvas by the stairs that said, "Family is everything," and thinking, yeah, just not this one. But I kept trying. That's the part that still embarrasses me. I kept showing up for holidays. I kept buying birthday gifts. I helped with bills when I knew money was tight, even after I found out they had taken a vacation and just forgot to mention it. I helped Jake get his job, used my contacts to recommend him for a client-facing role he had no real qualifications for. He nailed the interview. Charisma goes a long way when no one's fact-checking you. They never told people I helped. That was fine, I told myself. I wasn't doing it for credit. I was doing it to stay connected, to feel like I was still theirs. Even when I got my own apartment and a decent job, I still visited, still called, still sent my mom texts on random Wednesdays just to say, "Hope your day's going okay." Sometimes she replied. Sometimes she left me on read for days. But when she did respond, it was like oxygen. One time, she texted me after I helped sort out some insurance paperwork and wrote, "You always come through. Thank you." I reread that message for weeks. I'm not proud of that. But I think if you've ever felt invisible to someone you used to be the center of, you understand. That's why this year, this brunch, hurt so much. because I had let myself believe maybe we'd turned a corner. She sent a smiley face in her text confirming the invite. She thanked me after I helped with her taxes. She didn't ask me for money that month. I thought maybe things were leveling out. Maybe she was softening again. And for a second that morning, standing on her porch with flowers, a letter, and the perfume she used to wear when I was a kid, I felt like a son again. Then she laughed at my brother's joke about me being half family, and didn't say a word when Jake interrupted me mid-sentence and changed the subject to something about stock options. And she barely looked at the envelope when I handed it to her. The one I'd stayed up late writing. The one where I told her I loved her even when it hurt. Even when it felt one-sided. Then she threw it away. I keep seeing it. The bag by the garage. The red envelope folded and bent. The perfume box unopened. The flowers half-crushed under other trash. I pulled it all back out. Not to give it again. Not to make a point. Just because I couldn't bear to leave it there. Because those things weren't just gifts. They were mine. They were me. And if she didn't want them, then I was done giving. My mom sent a message in the same evening. You left in a weird mood. I hope it wasn't something we did. It almost made me laugh. But it didn't. Because nothing about it was funny. Not the years I spent shrinking myself to make space for the version of her life she liked better. Not the 1,000 little kindnesses I offered without thanks. Not the memory of her tucking me in at 7 and saying, "You're my whole world." Only to grow up and find out that world had borders I was never allowed to cross again. They didn't kick me out. They just made sure I always felt like I was visiting someone else's family. So yeah, I haven't called them back. Because for the first time, I'm not trying to be invited in. I'm trying to remember what it feels like to belong to myself. I didn't sleep that night. Not out of rage. Not even heartbreak. It was something worse, clarity. That dull, cold kind of clarity that settles in when you're done hoping. Like standing in a house you once thought you'd live in forever and finally realizing all the walls are hollow. Around 2 a.m., I walked into my kitchen and lined the 3 gifts up on the counter. The perfume. The flowers. The letter. They looked smaller now. Sadder. Like relics from a version of myself I didn't recognize anymore. I stared at the envelope for a long time, creased from the trash bag, still sealed. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. I knew exactly what it said. I opened my laptop. First, the utilities. I logged into the accounts I'd been quietly paying, gas, water, power, and scheduled final payments for the month. Then I removed my name from everything and closed the automatic drafts. Next, the tuition account. I had offered to help cover my brother's next semester. The transfer hadn't gone through yet. It was scheduled for the 15th. I canceled it. The confirmation email made it real. Then I opened a new email and addressed it to my mom. Subject: Mother's Day. Body: just a heads up, I tucked an envelope of cash inside the letter I gave you. It was meant to go toward Zach's tuition. I figured you'd know what to do with it. Hope it didn't get lost. I hit send. Then I turned off my laptop, made tea I didn't drink, and sat in silence. Letting her sit with it felt better than yelling ever could. And sure enough, by 8:12 a.m., the text started coming. Wait, what do you mean cash? I didn't see any envelope inside. Are you serious? Oh my God. How much was in there? I'll look right now. Then the calls. Over and over. I watched the screen light up and go dark. Voicemail after voicemail piling up like little panic attacks. I didn't answer. I let her panic. Let her retrace every step in her head. Let her wonder how much she had thrown away, literally and figuratively. It wasn't true. Of course it wasn't. There was no cash. But she didn't know that. And now, every time she thought about that trash bag, she'd feel it, the possibility that she had discarded something valuable. Not just a gift. Not just money. Something that might have saved them. And now it was gone. Around noon, Jake finally texted me. You're being childish. This is a serious situation. Can you just tell us if you're lying? I almost replied, ask the garbage truck. Instead, I put my phone on silent and kept going. There was one last step to take. I opened my contacts and found the names of 3 people I had personally introduced Jake to. People he now worked with, client leads, vendors, one old friend who helped him land a side contract. I sent each of them a version of the same message. Hi, just wanted to reach out and ask, moving forward, please don't associate my name with Jake Hatcher. Nothing dramatic, just a personal boundary. Hope that makes sense. No gossip. No details. Just enough for people to feel it. Enough to make them wonder what had happened behind the scenes. Enough to loosen a few threads. I knew how that world worked. Jake's entire job depended on being seen as a trustworthy guy with connections. And if I quietly stepped back, others would follow. By the end of the week, he'd already lost a long-standing referral. A contract went on pause. Another client requested to deal directly with someone else. I didn't even have to lift a finger. Just one email and a little space, and the machine started to unwind itself. That night, my phone buzzed again. Did you find it? Please respond. I need to know. I think I saw the bag you're talking about, but everything's gone now. Please, can you just tell me if this is real? I stared at her name on the screen. For a second, I imagined answering, saying something cold, sharp, final, but that would give her closure. So I did nothing, because this wasn't about revenge. This was about making them feel the weight I've been carrying since I was 10 years old. When I stopped being her whole world and started being an inconvenience she couldn't wait to outgrow. This was about watching them scramble in the silence and realize, finally, what I've been trying to say for years. You can't keep erasing someone and expect them to stay loyal. I know I lied. I know the envelope never existed. But the pain, the withdrawal, the abandonment, that was real. And for the first time in my life, they couldn't ignore it. My mom left me a voicemail that night. Her voice was shaky. Not crying, yet. But you could hear the desperation leaking through her composure. Please call me. Please. I didn't know. I didn't see it. I would have never, if I knew what was in there. Just call me, okay? I'm sorry if I. Please call. She didn't say, I love you. She didn't say, I'm sorry, like she meant it. Just panic. Like someone realizing they'd lost something important and couldn't remember where they put it. I still didn't reply. The next morning, my aunt texted me. Apparently my mom had called her crying. Told her I was being cruel and withholding and difficult. My aunt's message was just one line. If I were you, I wouldn't answer either. That one actually made me smile. Because for once someone saw it. Really saw it. How much I'd given. How little I'd received. How calmly I had accepted being nothing until it became unbearable. That weekend, I boxed up the gifts and tucked them in my closet. Not because I wanted to keep them, but because I wasn't ready to throw them away either. They weren't reminders of her anymore. They were reminders of me, of the version of myself who kept trying. And now, I wasn't trying anymore. I was done. By Monday, she stopped asking if I was okay and started demanding answers. Her texts went from, I'm sorry you're upset, to, you need to stop this now. Jake emailed me directly, professional tone, like we were negotiating a contract instead of untangling a decade of buried resentment. He said my decision to disengage was affecting his work and that he hoped I'd reconsider for the sake of the family's stability. Translation: your silence is costing me money. I didn't reply. Then Zach got involved. He sent a voice memo that started with, look, I know things were never perfect, and ended with, but seriously, you're ruining Mom's life over what? Some trash? That one nearly made me laugh. Some trash. Yeah, that was the whole problem, wasn't it? They'd spent years treating me like clutter, something to box up and shove in the attic so it didn't ruin the aesthetic. Now I was gone, and suddenly they couldn't function. And still I said nothing. I didn't gloat. Didn't rant on social media. Didn't send one final, here's everything you did wrong message. I just stopped playing the role. And it drove them insane. By the end of the week, my mom showed up at my office. No warning. No call. Just walked right in, looking like someone on a mission. The receptionist buzzed me like there was a fire. I came downstairs and found her standing in the lobby in a cream blazer and heels that clicked like punctuation marks. She didn't smile. Can we talk? She asked, already heading toward the front doors. We stepped outside. She didn't ask how I was. Didn't offer an apology. She went straight to it. You've humiliated this family, she snapped. You've embarrassed your brother. Jake's job is hanging by a thread. Do you understand what that means? I understand exactly what that means, I said calmly. She stared at me, eyes hard. You're doing this out of spite. Over one party. I tilted my head. Is that what you think? She folded her arms. We raised you. We paid for your clothes, your food, your school. I nodded slowly. And I gave you a down payment on this house. Covered your utility bills for 2 years. I offered to help with Zach's tuition. But sure, let's talk about the time you bought me sneakers in 5th grade. That cracked something. Her jaw clenched. That was your choice. We never asked you to help. No, I said. You didn't ask. You just expected it. Expected me to pick up the slack when Jake forgot the mortgage was due. Expected me to understand when you skipped my birthday because Zach had a test. Expected me to stay quiet when you smiled while he called me half family, like I was an accident. She opened her mouth. And you expected me to keep giving, I continued, even after you threw away the only thing I had left to offer. That landed. She blinked. Something flickered in her face, maybe guilt, maybe just discomfort. Then she tried one last play. You're punishing the wrong person, she said. You're punishing your brother. He didn't throw anything away. I smiled, tired. You want to talk about the letter? She hesitated. I saw it, Mom, I said. In the trash bag, next to the garage. I took it back. Her face changed. The sharpness dissolved into something smaller, weaker. I didn't know, she said. I thought maybe you'd taken it with you. I wasn't sure. You weren't sure, I repeated. I didn't mean to. You never do. I didn't yell. I didn't raise my voice. I just let her hear it. Really hear it. I'm not dropping the act just so you can feel better, I said. I'm not cleaning up the mess. And if Jake has to answer for how he got that job, that's not my problem anymore. She stared at me like I'd grown a second head, like the quiet, dependable version of me had been murdered in his sleep and replaced with someone unrecognizable. Then she said it. You're not just punishing Jake, she hissed. You're punishing this family. I nodded. Then maybe this family should have stopped treating me like a stranger with a checkbook. And I walked back inside. Didn't look back. 2 days later, Zach posted a vague, dramatic story about people who abandon their families when things get hard. A few mutuals liked it. One cousin messaged me privately. Is that about you? I replied, probably. And if it is, good. Jake, I heard, started hemorrhaging clients. People were reconsidering their partnerships. One of the vendors I'd introduced him to pulled their contract. He was asked to resign a month later. They called it restructuring. Everyone knew it wasn't. Zach's tuition didn't get paid. He had to defer. I never said a word about it. Not because I was trying to be cruel, but because silence was the only language they never learned to listen to. A few weeks after the office scene, I got a group call from my mom, Jake, and Zach. I didn't answer. They left a voicemail. We just want to talk, she said, syrupy and careful, like someone trying to reset a chessboard after flipping it. Zach mumbled, sorry, I guess. Jake didn't speak. Then my mom added, you made your point. So what now? You disowning us. I played the message twice. Once to hear what they said. Once to hear what they didn't. No one said, I'm sorry, like they meant it. No one said, we didn't treat you right. They just wanted me back in place. Back in role. But I was done playing it. So I didn't respond. I blocked the number. 3 months later, I got promoted. Moved into a better apartment. Started hosting small dinners with people who actually wanted to hear what I had to say. Then, one night, a message came in from my mom. Saw you moved. Hope you're doing well. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. She didn't mention what she did. Or what she didn't. She didn't ask how I was. She just wanted to see if the door was open. It wasn't. I made tea, sat on my balcony, and looked out at the city lights. No noise. No guilt. No performance. Just quiet. And in that silence, for the first time in years, I finally felt free. Sometimes I wonder if I overreacted. If I should have just let it go, smiled through the sting, picked a nicer moment to set boundaries, chosen peace over silence. But then I remember that garage. I remember standing there holding my unopened gifts, still damp from the trash bag. I remember the letter I'd written with shaking hands, trying to be vulnerable with someone who didn't think twice before discarding it. And I realize I didn't burn a bridge. I just stopped carrying the weight of one they tore down years ago. I'm not proud of the lie about the cash, but I'm not ashamed of it either. Because for once, they had to sit with uncertainty, with discomfort, with the possibility that what they threw away might have mattered more than they realized. So, what do you think? Was I too harsh? Was it finally time someone said enough? Would you have done the same, or walked away quieter? Let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely curious how people see it. And if you like stories like this, ones about family, boundaries, and quiet revenge, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.